garden has been in the ground for a couple months now. The install went really well. The bees have already repopulated this landscape, so it's been fun. One of the fun things that we had in this garden that we haven't ever experienced in any other garden installation is as our guys were tilling in the biomass that we produced from the existing plant material, they encountered a bumblebee hive, so they underground as they were tilling. And so we kind of halted action in that space of the garden and called in the bee lab from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and they came and harvested the bees and took them to a new home to create a better living environment for them.
So when we started the renovation of this garden, a number of the things we had to do were some chemical applications and also some what we call mechanical work. And so we did find that since it was a heavily seeded native garden for some time, that some of the grasses and or some of the tree seedlings or some of the aspen suckers had gotten out of hand. And so it took some work. It took a minimum amount of chemical application and a lot of mechanical applications to get those under control. But once we did that, we were able to mow everything, turn it into a great biomass before we started the composting and planting process.
This garden has really a few different zones for plant material. There are some exposures that are full sun. There are also some exposures that are quite shady. So the plant material is very diverse from front yard to backyard, and even in the backyard from the north side to the south side is very different. So you kind of have to get to know your plant material a little bit in terms of knowing how to maintain it. Some places might need a little more water, some places are going to need less. But all in all, this garden long term is going to be really easy to maintain.
One of the things we've also found is Ann mentioned the word zones, and the same plants may be located throughout the garden in different zones, and they're going to react differently in those spaces. So depending on the sunlight, depending if it's a west exposure and east exposure, whether it's afternoon shade or morning shade, that can all be very different. And so we found that here, as we've been walking around this morning, we found how plants have reacted differently to different parts of the garden. And also depending on the moisture requirements, and obviously we've had a hot summer, we've had highs and lows in all different directions. So it's been fun to watch the plants adjust, and it's also been fun just to see how much or how many inputs we've had in different zones of this garden.
The homeowners in this situation have done a really good job of taking ownership of this garden. They were obviously gardeners before we got here, but we just had to kind of help them get back on track with the plant material in their space. So they've done a great job watering, weeding, really taking care of things, which has been a struggle with the heat this summer. But they're doing a phenomenal job, and it's always great to see homeowners take pride and ownership in what we've created for them.